Welcome to SPK Speak Sports. On our station, we talk about baseball and sports news, from the most recent stories to the throwbacks. Listen now to Scott, Paul, and Kelly on SPK Speak Sports as they hit the ball out of the park.
You hit the ball out of the park, Speak Sports.
Hello, wiffle ball fans, and welcome to the Den. My name is Kazzy, but my friends call me Scott, and I'm wearing bedroom slippers today.
I'm Paul.
I'm Kelly.
And we are the three of us, SPK Speak Sports. Before we do that, quick plug for our sponsor, unofficially, Mutton Buster Beer. It's a brown ale. And here in Idaho, it's a win-win thing because when you're finished, you got that to shoot at. Okay, so you put about 10 of those on there, you got a full day. And we're also not just sponsored by Mutton Buster, but also by, and we don't have the bag because we finished it already, Doritos pickle flavored pork rinds. So pork rinds and Mutton Buster beer. It's what we call here in Idaho breakfast.
Continental breakfast.
Take it away, Charlie.
Sure. Oh, that must be me. I thought I was Paul.
That's you.
But
SPKSPEAKSport for sports.
wanted to remind our listeners and our viewers on YouTube that we have not only a YouTube channel, SPK Speak Sports, but we also are on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. On the Facebook page, it's SPK Speak Sports. Other than that, we are SPK Speak Sports, one word.
Member LLC.
We did have a contact from Facebook. Scott, last week, you made quite an impression on some of our viewers.
Finally.
And one, Dan Scott, says, Angels bat boy in 1961. Wow, that's awesome. I like hearing stories from the old timers. So he also says, who was his hero growing up?
With the Angels in 61 to 63.
I assume that.
Yeah, well, it would have been Steve Bilko initially because he was my hero at the 56-57 Pacific Coast League Angels. And he was the Babe Ruth of Los Angeles at that time because there was no professional baseball team, not professional, but major league team. But then with the Angels, I mean, really, Paul, I have to say almost all the guys, the ones that stick out would be Eli Gerba, who was the very first draft pick, pitched and won a complete first game, just passed away a couple of years ago, a dear friend, Dean Chance, who let me sign his name on a couple of baseballs in the clubhouse because he didn't like, none of the players liked signing their name, but he didn't have a good signature. You could read it, but it looked like about a fourth grader's, and I could do that very well. Okay. So Dean Chance and George Thomas, who I still talk to a lot, and the guys I still talk to, which are just a few, are in their 80s now. But George Thomas, we all heard about Bob Uecker and the characters of the game. George Thomas is one of the characters of the game that probably flew under the radar. So I'll have some stories about him another time, but we need to get into, but I can segue into real quick. A couple of things I didn't get to mention last week about the 61 memories. And also, I do have to thank the St. Louis Browns for the fact that the Los Angeles Angels are the Los Angeles Angels. And you would have to thank the Browns, too, for the Dodgers being the Dodgers. Because in 1941, the St. Louis Browns were going to move to Los Angeles. That was determined on December 6th. They were going to sign the papers on December 7th, 1941, to move to Los Angeles. So the war broke out. St. Louis Browns didn't move, and the Dodgers did, of course, and the Angels after that. So if it wasn't for that happening, I wouldn't be talking about and they celebrated. Coincidentally, the Browns played their last game in St. Louis on this date in 1953, and they celebrated by losing their 100th game.
Wow.
And then they became the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah,
A couple quick things, though, about the first game. My mom was in the stands with my stepdad at the time and my grandmother. They had no idea, as did I, that I was going to be the bat boy until they saw me on the field, 45, 50 minutes, an hour before the game.
Was that away? Was that in
No, that was at
Baltimore?
Wrigley Field. No,
Wrigley Field,
Yeah,
okay.
because again, the season's starting. They started on the 9th of April. They had this tremendously long road trip, which was what teams did back then.
Yeah.
So up till the 25th, when somebody said to call to come down to the park the day before to talk to the equipment manager, I had no idea. So after the game, I'm not quite 15. She comes down in the dugout. People are leaving and gives me a kiss, and I was like, do that.
Yeah.
That type of thing. But my grandmother got an autograph on the program, not of Ty Cobb, who was also in the stands in, but of Richard Nixon.
Wow.
So
Did Ty Cobb throw out the first pitch?
no, he didn't. Some other old-time Angels from the Pacific Coast League days did.
Okay.
Truck Hand, I think, was one. I don't remember the other one. But my mom reminded me years later when I got into the car after the game, because they're all waiting for me again. And first thing I said was, man, did those guys cuss. I'd never been around, 25, 30 guys. There's like every other word and spitting tobacco. And he grew up pretty quick. The great thing about that season, one of the best things was being on a road trip. Got to go on a road trip every year. Saw every park except Detroit and Chicago. So to see Yankee Stadium, that was the biggest major league ballpark I'd ever seen, because the Coliseum, you can't really count as a major league ballpark. So I'd only seen Wrigley Field and Gilmore Field where the Hollywood Stars played. But to go on a road trip like that was almost like being a player, because the ball boy, whose name was Jimmy Marinko, we would alternate who were the bat boys on the road trip, because the home team supplied bat boy and ball boy.
Yeah.
So there were some games I was just in the dugout, like a player who wasn't going to play.
Yeah.
And then the last thing was the last day, and this is also in a book called Once They Were Angels, which a bat boy from the 70s for the Angels, Rob Goldman, wrote, and it's chronicled in there. But I mean, I'm literally in that last, I'm crying my eyes out. It was the dream of a field of dreams, for a 15-year-old kid who loved baseball, and I didn't want it to end. A side note on that, Tito Francona, Terry Francona's dad needed to go 2 for 2 to bat 300. And I didn't know any of this, but they had a little thing going between the Indians and the Angels for Tito to go for 2 for 2. Ryan Duran, who was pitching at the time, laid it in for Tito to bunt down the third base line. They made sure the third baseman for the Angels was playing back. Duran kind of meanders over, looks at the signature, throws it, he's safe. And then the next time, same thing, they took him out of the game, so he hits 300. But they said, if we're going to do that for you, we want to have Steve Bilko have an opportunity to hit his 20th home run. So this is just like in a movie. He comes in to pinch hit, the bottom of the 9th inning, 2 outs, and Mudcat Grant's pitching. May have laid one in there, may not have, but if you ever have seen Home Run Derby, those guys knew what was coming batting practice-wise, and they didn't hit it out every pitch. So whether he did lay it in or not, Bilko hit his 20th home run. So that was how the last game at Wrigley Field ended. So anyway.
Well, I was going to say, amazing thing, too, was that when they had that franchise, and you mentioned this last week, is that Gene Autry went to the winter meetings just to get the rights for his radio station for the American League, the new team in town.
Yeah.
And they put that organization together pretty quick. And
Real quick.
And when you consider their record and where they were, that's an amazing thing.
No expansion team in the first year has won 70 games.
Yeah.
They said they wouldn't win 40 or 50. And it's like, that was the next year for the New York Mets. So there were a bunch of veterans and rookies that all had something to prove, and they made a lot of great trades, and a lot of guys coming in and going out, and that worked. But I think I want to say too that the winter meetings, and Autry got it, I want to say again December 7th, something like that. So they only had a couple of months between that and spring training. To put all that together.
Amazing.
Anyway, that's yesterday.
For $1 million, you've got that franchise thereabouts.
Yeah.
And now it's worth $1.195 billion.
And I got $5 a game to do it, and I could say I would have done it for nothing. I almost did. But I didn't have to pay any taxes at the end of the year.
Yeah.
It was $405. So
There you go.
no 1099s. So what do we got from?
Well, Scott,
right
thank
now?
you for sharing that. I know people are interested in those sorts of stories, and you will share more as we continue.
One last thing before we move on. You're kind of like a trailblazer because there's a guy that's managing today that was a bad boy,
Aaron Boone.
and he's managing the Yankees.
Yeah.
So,
when his dad was
Scott,
the
I
catcher.
mean, you're, you know,
Well, you know what's kind of neat was being the first.
yeah,
There's only one person that can be the first to do anything
Right.
on the athletic
Yeah.
field, and everybody can beat that record or whatever, but there can only be one first. So there have been other bat boys, and I think that's been a great experience for them. But when you can say you've been the first
Yeah.
on the first team, the first home game, it's kind of cool.
that's amazing. And you know, every game that I've seen, I had to pay for it. To get in.
Well, that's a fan.
Yeah, you know.
You never snuck in.
No, no. But my dad would tell me when we would go through the turnstiles, duck, and he would, and I'd go under as a kid. You didn't buy a ticket for a kid 4 years old in those days.
Yeah,
They'd let
wow.
you, right?
Oh, that was you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, we had a viewer suggest to me that perhaps all of us should share something about ourselves that regular watchers and listeners don't know. And Scott was good enough to talk about his Angel experience. So this is really embarrassing, but I'm a real romantic. For example, I told my wife we're going to go on vacation. And in fact, we are going to go to New York and find the biggest diamond in the city. I'm taking her to Yankee Stadium. Thank you, Nancy Wallace. Nancy, I got a million of them, but actually I only have about 7 of them. But it's because of one of our regular viewers who calls herself the SPK Speaks Sports groupie. Thanks, Nancy, for the laugh.
And me?
Yeah.
Let's see. So I was going out with my wife, who became my wife, girlfriend. And we went to the 86, I took her to the 86 Boston Angel game where Henderson hit the Donnie Moore pitch.
You didn't tell us that it was your girlfriend to be your wife at the
Yeah,
time.
and
Oh, my.
and at the time, it was one more pitch would have went to the World Series. Henderson hits the home run, and it's really loud, and she's stressed out a little bit, has a panic attack, and I'm just, everything's going on, and it was really something. So that's a game that's kind of one of my
Well,
biggest
you must
memories.
not have been like those guys that Scott was hanging out with, because I know your wife. She's a real sweet
Yeah.
lady, and she wouldn't have gone for all that cussing.
Yeah, that's true. I was too much in shock to cuss.
Oh, okay.
That came later after, and then we went. We had a couple margaritas, Oh God,
That was not a good moment.
no.
We're going to do something about right now. With
Talk
the-
about baseball?
Yeah, don't get
Let's-
too complex on us.
Let's go with our MVPs. Or?
Well, I'd like to go.
Oh.
We were assigned
Okay.
divisions.
Oh, okay.
Let's do MVPs and all that next week because that's not
Okay.
going to be
All right.
voted
Okay.
on for a month.
All right. That's good.
I
Get it,
had
Professor.
I had the distinction of drawing the short straw, I think, and getting the National League Central, which is so complicated that I'm not sure the managers understand what's going to happen. But Kelly, you were saying that St. Louis is ahead of Milwaukee as we were taking the air, so to
Airtime.
speak.
Yeah.
I think it was a 5-1 score.
Right.
But we could have a situation where, 3 teams, at least 4 teams, the Giants, the Phillies, Milwaukee,
St.
and
Louis.
St. Louis could all end. No, not St. Louis if they beat Milwaukee.
Yeah. But those 3 teams.
Those 3 teams could end up 29-31 and be competing.
Below average.
Competing for the last wild card spot. So things would have to go, a certain direction. But that's how weird this season is. Here we are. This is episode 11 of SPK Speak Sports. And today's the last day of the regular season. That's a quick season. Too quick for my blood.
Well, it depends on who you're rooting for.
I suppose.
If you're rooting for the Marlins-
Our season was after Angel season was done in 20 games.
Yeah, but did you notice the other day they talked about how they were just eliminated? It was like Friday. And it's like, I don't
They
think
were
so.
eliminated a long time ago. But
Wishful
anyway,
thinking.
yeah.
I did want to talk about one more thing as regard to the National League Central. Chicago, leading the division, has a team batting average.
It's the Cubs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of
National
220.
Central.
Cincinnati, which is already in the playoffs, has a team batting average of, drum roll please, 211.
Wow.
Milwaukee's 223, and St. Louis, I think 235 as we went on there. That's 4 teams, all in, possibly in the playoffs, but at least 3 of them
That can't hit.
that can't hit.
Yeah.
Now they do have pitching. There's some good pitching. In fact, we're not going to do Cy Young predictions today or Cy Young picks.
No, because they don't even vote on it
All
every
right.
month. So
All right, but Chicago has good pitching. Cincinnati, solid pitching. Milwaukee, I think that Christian Yelich this year, his hitting is so bad, he's competing with Cody Bellinger for most what the heck happened in the National League. But anyway, we have some miserable hitting and some good pitching, and pitching still carries the day, even in this day of home run, home run, home run.
well, just to expand on those 2 topics, home run and low batting average. So the Reds' 211 batting average ties the 1910 White Sox for the lowest batting average ever, at least since 1900. But oddly enough, the Reds also set a record this year for the highest percentage of runs via the home run at 62%.
Wow.
So just what you said.
And they have the big 3. They have Bauer, Castillo, Sonny Gray.
Yeah.
So
But pitching is still where it's at. I was looking at the pitching stats. Team pitching, I was just looking at ERAs. But from 1 to 30, the first 14 lowest ERAs are all in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it's almost as indicative as the one loss column.
yeah.
You look at team pitching ERA and you go, okay, that team's going to make it.
Yeah.
Well, I have the East, and in the National League East, Miami has. Well, they are in fielding, ERA, team ERA, and batting. They're lower than the 16 team cutoff for the playoffs, so they are not even in the top 16 of everything. So they're amazing. I mean, I don't know how they're doing it. So Mattingly's got it going there.
Well, good for him. He's a good guy. You got Jeter, who was vilified when he took over, and even though it's 60 games, that's why, for me, like DJ LeMahieu is the first guy ever to lead both leagues in batting average, and then you go, that's for 60 games.
Right.
So it's okay.
But a Blackman of Colorado, his average really went.
He went from like 406 in the first half to like 206 in the second half.
Yeah.
Just real quick on football. College football is coming on for a couple of weeks, and just a couple of quick things that stood out to me. KJ Costello, the quarterback for Mississippi State, he passed for 623 yards, not against anybody, but the defending national champs, LSU, for a 44-34 win. It's the first time since 1998 since a national champion has lost their opening game. That was in 1998. Michigan lost to
Appalachia State.
Appalachia State.
No.
Notre Dame.
Notre
Thank
Dame.
you,
Notre Dame.
Notre
Yeah,
Dame.
Appalachia State was
And also the other one, four touchdown underdog Kansas State, and also China flu-ridden. Coach didn't know if he had enough players to play each position, and they beat number 3 Oklahoma 38-35.
Wow.
And I'm stealing one other thing from one of you guys. I don't know who said it a couple of weeks ago. The NFL Washington football team, they should do their nickname of the Washington Pigskins. So one of you guys said that, and so it was you. Pigskins, there's still the skins.
Yeah,
everybody's
that's right.
happy. You play.
Yeah.
PETA probably wouldn't be happy, but whatever.
But I can't believe that. Mississippi State could not have won that game because everyone knows that Mike Leach's offense will not work in the SEC.
Well, they called Mississippi State offense the air raid offense, because obviously they're throwing it a bunch of times.
What would you say if all of a sudden I said, we only have a few more shows to do about baseball, so I'm going to take the rest of the season off? Would you feel like you would that Alderon Simmons of the Angels walked out? I mean,
quitter.
yeah. I mean, we don't really know.
We don't know
We
the
don't know,
background,
but
right
it
now
looks bad.
It looks like quitter.
It looks bad,
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and the other thing, Jared Walsh has been just a ball. A month doesn't make a career, but I think he's had all 26 of his RBIs in September. So I don't know if that guy's going to be your first baseman and Ohtani's going to be your DH most of the time. Where does that fit in for a $30 million, 41-year-old guy, maybe older next year? Just saying.
He sits on the bench and he cheers for his teammates.
Yeah,
and makes 30.
I could do that.
He's
for
the
10 million.
most. He's the most expensive paid cheerleader in history.
I know. I got to do a couple of this dates in history. Shoeless Joe got his last hit in 1920 at age 33. So it wasn't until a year later that those guys were banned. Here it is, 1936. Replacing Johnny Mize, who's been ejected, a Cardinal rookie first baseman makes one error and 2 fielding chances and strikes out in his only major league at bat. Became a Hall of Fame manager. Any idea? Walter Smokey Olson.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then another, in 59, this second baseman played in 152 games. He's the only player to play in that many games in his one and only major league season. Again, became a Hall of Fame manager. George Sparky Anderson. 2008, this pitcher wins his 20th game, becomes the oldest pitcher at 39 to win 20 for the first time. That's also his last big league game that he pitches.
Oh, I think I know that one.
Yeah, 2008.
Don Sutton.
No,
There you go.
Mike Messina.
Okay. That was my second.
Your second.
choice.
Okay, 2 years ago, this is a great story. 2 years ago, the Rays and the Yankees are playing each other on this day. And CC Sabathia is pitching. It's not the last day of the season. It's a couple of days earlier. But they've got the playoffs coming up. CC's all scheduled to pitch the fourth game in the playoffs. But he needs 7 innings to reach 155 innings to get a $500,000 bonus. So he's the starting pitcher. They're leading like 7-0 at the time, and he barely hits a left-handed batter who's pulling back on the hand. He's not brushing him back. Next inning, Rays pitcher throws behind the head of Andrew Romine, and both pitchers, teams are warned. Sabathia comes out. He knows what he's got to do. He's 2 innings short of a $500,000 bonus, and he hits the catcher for the Rays and is ejected.
Oh, my God.
So my question is, this is going to be, what's the rest of the story? Did the Yankees after that, I mean, you talk about a guy who really stood up for his team.
Yeah.
500, I mean, sure, he's got a lot of money, but it's still 500 grand.
Yeah.
Did the Yankees say later, hey, CC, you're the man. Here's your 500.
I'm going to have to ask Steinbrenner. I don't know.
I mean, there's nothing on the line for it. They're leading by a big margin, but he knows and he did it right. He hit the guy just below the knee.
It's not even worth it.
No.
Oh, that's a pretty good teammate to have.
Yeah.
$500,000, you should get a rib shot at least.
One thing I want to mention, he's a good guy, is Ron Renicky.
Yeah.
He's not coming back. So
Neither is Alex Gordon. Had a good career with the Royals.
Yeah, and
Pretty healthy guy. He low on sugar, or if anything, eats chicken and fish. They had a birthday cake for Matheny, the manager, earlier this week, who turned 50.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even have a piece of cake, even though it's just a couple of days before he retires. He said he might have some cake after the game today, last game, and maybe go out and have some pizza and stuff like that. But he talked about, good career.
Yeah.
Very dedicated.
and Gardenhire for the Detroit Tigers, he walked away too. His health issues.
Saw that.
So they're going to need 2 managers next season.
You know what happened on this date in 1954? The first Tonight Show.
Oh.
Jack Parr. Who was the orchestra leader?
That I don't know.
Skitch Henderson.
Okay.
And Gene Rayburn was the co-announcer. So that's when it was when Carson took over at its peak, and it's not at its peak right now.
All right.
But when Carson was doing Karnak,
Mac.
and the answer is, hey dude, hey dude, okay?
Hey, dude.
Hey dude,
Yesterday.
and we've had hey meat. This is hey dude, okay? What should you not say the first time you're introduced to Queen Elizabeth?
Hey.
And one more, in honor of the heyday when the Tonight Show was pretty good, not a podcast. Hey dudes.
Hey, dude.
Hey dudes, that's right. Hey dudes, kind of a plural thing. Hey dudes. What would be appropriate to say when meeting Harry and Meghan? Not royalty.
Hi-oh.
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 Oh, my God.
Oh, Willie Mays was one of the guests on the first show, the Tonight Show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Baseball related. Thank you for pulling,
Yeah.
putting it all together for us, Scott.
I got one thing here. Jerseys. 2020. Who has sold the most jerseys? What player? What player?
I know it.
Mookie Betts.
Mookie Betts.
And what place is Mike Trout in?
11th. He dropped out of the top 10.
14th. The highest number he was at was 11 in his first
Oh.
8 seasons, and I don't think he's going to finish in the top 4 for the most valuable player.
I'm
No,
surrounded
no.
by
No.
freaks.
But you know what? When you play for a team that's losing and you're on the West Coast and no one's watching, you know.
That's exactly right.
You know,
That's
I mean,
exactly right. And he said the other day, he interviewed and he said, we've got to start winning. So I think he could have a little more input than in the past.
he's
He's going to take a pay cut?
Look,
No.
he had his chance to walk and go to
Sure.
a team. I'm glad he stayed with the Angels and everything.
Well, that's a great thing.
But you know, he has his reasons. But
If CC can give up $500,000 by hitting a guy, Trout can give up a little to get another pitcher.
The Angels need a number 1 and number 2. Marcus Stroman will be available. He's a free agent. I could see him maybe getting him and somebody else who I've since forgotten.
Bauer.
Bauer, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm glad you came.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bauer, I don't think is a good guy, but I think if he's your teammate, he's good. You hate
Yeah.
him as an opponent, but
Yeah.
as a teammate, you're good with him. I got to get real quick to wrap up. I want to give a couple of trivia questions for the viewers
Okay.
at
Or the
home to
listeners?
answer for next week.
Okay.
I'm just going to pose, and I'll pose it to you guys too.
Okay.
So you can go on the internet if you like, but the test is, can you get any of these right without going to the internet? Top 5 most career home runs among players to play for only one franchise. So I'll give you a couple of hints, clues. No Babe Ruth, no Barry Bonds, no Mays, no Aaron.
How do you spell Google?
No, do it on your own. It's just, there's no, we're not winning
Yeah.
anything. We're not losing it. The other one, top 3 most career wins among pitchers to play for only one franchise. So there's no Cy Young, Chrissy Matheson, Warren Spahn, Clemens, Maddox. They all pitched, I'll give you a little clue.
So
they all
it's-
pitched for the American League.
It's probably before the free agency then, maybe.
Okay, but you don't have to answer now.
Right,
Think
right.
about it.
Okay.
Top 5 home run hitters only play to one franchise. And
Okay.
the top 3 pitchers, I'd say top 5, but 4 and 5, nobody's going to get.
And we want our audience to think about it too.
No,
and if you
absolutely.
have the answer, comments on YouTube or Facebook, either one.
Absolutely. And I'll give you the answers next week, and you guys come up with them too. I already know them, so I don't have any homework. But we're wrapping up, guys.
Okay, all right.
You ready?
All right.
So thank you for watching SPK Speak Sports. Sports Center is next.